Whenever you check a price, or you send an invoice, or even just calculate a tip, the numbers you use, they just work. They're basically invisible. But what if they weren't? Today we're going to talk about the man who gave us that incredible invisible power, Fibonacci, and the absolute revolution he kicked off with just one book. This explainer pulls from the Wikipedia articles on Fibonacci and his amazing 1202 work, Liber Abici. As always, you can find links to our full bibliography right there in the description.
So let's just start with this. I want you to imagine a world where multiplying, say, 123 by 47 wasn't just something you did on a napkin. Imagine it was a monumental task, something only a handful of highly trained specialists could even attempt. A world where business, banking, and science were all stuck in first gear, all because of the numbers they were forced to use.
Right. And how about this for a twist? What if I told you the key to unlocking all of modern finance and calculation came from a quirky little thought experiment about how fast rabbits can multiply? It sounds a little nuts, I know, but it's a huge part of this story. Okay, so to really get what a big deal this was, we've got to travel back in time to 12th century Europe. You see, the entire continent was running its finances on what you could call a really clunky operating system, Roman numerals. I mean, this was a system designed for carving grand statements on stone monuments, not for trying to calculate compound interest on the fly.
And this slide, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? Look at the left side. With Roman numerals, you can't even begin to do that multiplication without a tool, like an abacus. It was slow, it was clunky, and it was so easy to make a mistake that could cost you a fortune. This wasn't just some minor inconvenience. It was a serious bottleneck holding back trade, banking, and even early science. Everything was just harder.
So into this world steps our hero, Leonardo of Pisa, born around 1170. Now we know him as Fibonacci. And here's the thing, he wasn't some scholar locked away in a dusty monastery. No, his dad was a customs official stationed in Bugia, which is in modern-day Algeria. Fibonacci was a world traveler, a guy who was right there on the front lines, seeing how global trade actually worked. And you can hear it in his own words. He was just blown away. While he was traveling all over the Mediterranean from Egypt to Syria, Fibonacci kept running into merchants using the Hindu-Arabic numeral system. He saw them using these 10 simple symbols, 1 through 9, plus this totally revolutionary idea of 0, to do calculations with a speed and an accuracy that was just unthinkable back in Europe. It was a total light bulb moment for him. He realized Europe was doing math with one hand tied behind its back.
So what does he do? Well, in 1202, he writes a book. And listen, this wasn't just any old book. Liber Abici, the Book of Calculation, was a practical, hands-on user's manual. Its entire purpose was to bring this better system to Europe and teach it to the people who desperately needed it, like the merchants and the bookkeepers.
The secret sauce, the core concept he was pushing, was what he called modus indorum, the method of the Indians. The real magic wasn't just the symbols themselves, it was the place value system. The idea that the number 2 could mean 2, or 20, or 200, all depending on where you put it. That, combined with this incredible placeholder 0, which he called ziffer, and yeah, that's where we get our word zero, that was the key that unlocked all of modern arithmetic.
And he made it so incredibly useful. Liber Abici wasn't some dense academic text full of abstract theories. No way. It was a problem-solving guide for the real world of business. It literally showed merchants how to do their books, how to convert between all the different currencies and measurements they had to deal with, and most importantly, how to figure out profit and interest quickly and easily. But Fibonacci knew that to really sell this new system, he needed more than just business examples. He needed a showstopper, a kind of killer app that could really show off what these new numbers could do. So, tucked away inside this practical guide was this little thought experiment about rabbits. You start with one pair, and you ask, how many pairs will you have in a year? There are a couple rules, but that's the gist.
And this is what you get. Solving the puzzle generates this very special, very elegant sequence of numbers. Now, to be clear, mathematicians in India had known about this sequence for centuries. But because Fibonacci put it in Liber Abici, he's the one who made it famous in Europe. And that's why today it has his name. It was basically the perfect piece of viral marketing for his new math.
But let's be real, this was not an overnight success. Brilliant ideas, even world-changing ones, they take time to catch on. For centuries, there was this big debate, this kind of tech rivalry between the abacists, the old guard who stuck with their Roman numerals and their abacus, and the algorithmists, the new disruptors who were championing Fibonacci's method.
Yeah, you can really see that slow burn here on the timeline. First, it's the Italian merchants in the 1300s who realize, hey, this gives us a huge competitive edge. Then bam, the printing press shows up in the 1500s, and suddenly Liber Abici and its ideas can spread everywhere. By the 1600s, it's the new standard, and this new language of math, it was the essential software that made everything from complex banking and double-entry bookkeeping to the entire scientific revolution even possible.
So what does the story from 800 years ago have to do with us today? Well, the story of Fibonacci actually has some incredibly powerful lessons for anyone working in pretty much any professional field today.
Okay, first big takeaway. The best tool isn't always the one you invent. Sometimes it's the one you find. Fibonacci's real genius wasn't in inventing something from scratch. It was his insight to look beyond his own world, recognize a vastly better system, and then have the courage to bring it home and teach people how to use it.
Second lesson, a brilliant idea is totally useless until it solves a real problem for real people.
The Hindu-Arabic system could have just stayed as a cool idea for mathematicians. But Liber Abici made it a success because it wasn't just about theory, it was about application. It solved everyday problems for merchants. That's what drives real change, applied knowledge.
And third, innovation is so often about being a connector. Fibonacci was the ultimate connector. He built a bridge between the mathematical genius of the East and the commercial needs of the West. The biggest breakthroughs almost always happen at these intersections, where different ideas and different cultures collide.
So if you're going to remember one thing from all of this, make it this. This is the catchphrase. Fibonacci didn't invent the numbers, he imported the operating system. He gave Europe the powerful, efficient software it absolutely needed to build the modern world.
So, let's wrap this up. Europe was stuck using a math system that was holding it back. A world traveler, Leonardo Fibonacci of Pisa, saw a much better way being used in North Africa and the East. He wrote the user's manual for it, Liber Abici, in 1202. And over the next 4 centuries, that system became the absolute bedrock of modern finance and science.
And that brings us to our final call to action for you. The next time you are staring down a really complex problem, just take a page out of Fibonacci's book. Ask yourself, what's the Roman numeral in my field? What's the clunky, inefficient system that everybody just accepts because, well, that's how it's always been done? Because finding that and connecting it to a better way that already exists somewhere else, that's where the real revolutions begin.
You'll find our full bibliography and a disclaimer in the description below. Thanks for joining us.